Good morning, gentlemen. Super humble and grateful to have you guys all together on here. Apex Webinar 001. Thanks for your time. We're all very compassionate and vigilant in this moment. And the reason we're doing this is to share purposeful perspectives and purposeful content to everybody. Gonna go around and talk to each coach. We've got Coach Tierney here from Denver University, Coach Raymond from Hobart, and Coach Baxter from Fairfield University. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here. To quote Churchill real quick, courage is the quality which guarantees all others. So obviously you are all courageous and vigilant individuals. And we are all exercising an abundance of caution in these times. But want to go around and get all your perspectives quickly. First, on just things in general, your programs, lacrosse, our world that we live in, and just get your perspectives on that. Greg, if you start us off with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. First, MV, thanks for the invite. I'm excited about this whole thing and be on with Coach Baxter and Coach Tierney. It's an honor. I think from a program perspective, we're dealing with a lot of unknown, dealing with a lot of what's next, and I think from a communication standpoint to what I want our program to mean to our men, the standards that we apply on a day-to-day basis, I think are at the forefront of executing this pandemic, so to speak. And, we operate on two principles frequently, being an underdog and approaching the next play with discipline and sound emotion and a level head. So you see two signs in our locker room, one of an underdog and one of a next play. And every email I've sent to our team is, listen, the reasons we teach what we teach are for situations of, again, that crazy word, the unknown. I think as competitors, we make a choice to dive into that unknown constantly. In order to accomplish what we want, you need to sacrifice completely for an outcome you aren't sure of. And, so I believe that if our guys can focus on, that underdog mentality, meaning you're up against something that is very powerful and maybe doesn't have all the answers for you right now. I think a lot of the world and a lot of the United States are underdogs in this thing. I like to believe my men have great practice in that endeavor. And the next play, making sure that, we're not too high, we're not too low on successes and failures, but also, focused on what we're doing in that next phase. And I think now, as much as ever, you have to provide yourself a balance of self-discipline and routine in terms of what's next. What am I doing next in my day? What am I doing next in my life? How do I make this whole new challenge make more sense to me? And so I like to believe that a lot of these principles that we teach every day at Hobart College and the Hobart Lacrosse program will help our men and hopefully some others, and they'll influence others to do the same.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Coach Baxter, what do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, MV, for doing this, putting this on. This is great. And well said there, Coach Raymond. One of the things I'm looking at some notes here that I've been taking over the break, and I listened to one of Tim Kite's webinars the other day, and he was talking about change being small, slow, and daily. And I think that really applies to our Fairfield Lacrosse program right now. Obviously, the new coaching change was certainly, these guys had to adjust to that, and that was small, slow, and daily. And I think, with this pandemic we're dealing with right now, I think it's another time where we have to, take it small, slow, and daily. And I think that's been the message to my team. And you know, Tim Kite also talked about with that change, it's only as stressful as you make it. So it's kind of like one of those things where I think everyone's trying to figure out how to deal with this whole thing. And again, it's, you know, hopefully it's only as stressful as you make it. You know, one of the things that I think that we talk about as a program, one of our core principles, I know Coach Raymond hit on his, one of ours is selfless commitment. And I think finding a way to be selfless in this time is just an area that's going to be hard for guys to try and figure that out, because you are spending so much time with yourself, and how you can, you know, look outside yourself and act outside yourself is going to be a huge testament to how we move on here. I think, you know, I think you guys hit on some good points. Being courageous, MV, I think is going to be the big thing here. And like I said, I've been just trying to get that message across to my team through email and text and all that good stuff. So, you know, this is uncharted territory for everyone. So just trying to make the best of it, I guess.
Thanks, Coach. Coach D, thanks for being on here. You have the floor.
Thanks, MV, and Greg and Bax. It's great to be on with you guys. It's listening to these guys talk. It kind of makes me feel proud about our profession when you see guys like Greg and Andrew carrying this thing on. As everybody knows, I'm certainly not at the sunrise of my career, but hopefully sunset isn't that close either. But you know, I think all of us in our situations, our coaching situations, fit different challenges and face different challenges. You know, Andrew at a new place. You know, Greg been there for a little while at Hobart and it's just resurged that program. And you know, me being out at Denver for now 11 years, but at Princeton for 22. You know, we all face different challenges. We all face different kind of kids, whether it's admissions or facilities or budgets or what our league looks like, what our schedule looks like. But I think the key thing, and even though everybody faces different challenges, the key thing is for all of us. And when you listen to those guys, you know it's in their heart as well as is culture. You know, culture is the goal, and we feel like we've been blessed at Denver and over the last few years to really develop a really good culture amongst our kids. College kids these days, 18 to 22-year-olds, come from a different angle than they used to, and I've been blessed to have you know, a great staff, especially my associate head coach Matt Brown, kind of keep me in the loop with the things that I've had to change, you know, and both on the field and off the field as well. But asking young men to do the things that we do 24/7, 365, you know, it is a challenge. But when you've developed that culture, when they see you doing all the little things, you know, I think, and they start buying in, then you've got a lot less to worry about. And rolling that into this pandemic we're in right now, it's always, you know, one of our big mantras is, what are you doing when nobody's watching? You know, are you taking those extra reps? Are you doing the extra lift? Are you taking that extra run? Are you studying hard so you stay eligible, or to you get on the dean's list or whatever it might be? And now this challenge, more than any of those, without any of us looking around, we have kids from 20 different states and 2 provinces of Canada, and you know, we got to trust that they've bought into the culture and are doing these things while no one's watching. We're really excited. Later this morning, we're having our first team kind of Zoom conference. You know, I've learned more about technology in the last week than I have in the last 68 years. And so it's been really fun and interesting. We're in a unique situation at Denver in that we're about to start another semester. You know, we're a trimester school, so just on spring break right now, and our kids will start a 10-week semester all online. And so continuing with that mantra of what are you doing when nobody's watching, you know, we're hoping our guys continue to do what they've been doing. And, you know, we're proud of where we are as a lacrosse program, but right now that's got to be on the side, and just being proud of the young men that we have to carry on this thing that we're trying to do and do it no matter where they're located.
That's a great transition moment, Coach T. Thank you so much. Your perspective is very respected and valued. You know, with that character piece and the trust piece and the what are players doing when no one's watching, kind of the next round of comments and perspectives that we would like from you guys is that, you know, players and parents and coaches are looking for perspectives and advice on continued development and growth during these times, which are obviously very unique and adverse times. So if you guys could touch on a little bit of that, Coach T already did, so that'd be a good transition. Coach T, if you'd like to go first, because I know you got to step off and go meet with your team. So again, you have the floor, Coach T.
Well, you know, there's so many things to talk about in recruiting, and it's hard to put everything that you want to say or that you think each day in making it the most important thing, although it can be the most important decision a young person makes in their lives through this whole process that we all go through. I guess what I would do is, you know, try as advice to young people that are trying to, you know, play lacrosse at the college level, whether it be Division I as us three are, or you know, any of the other divisions, is number one, that just to understand that you know, you're not judged by what division you play. You're not judged by how much time you get. As I always say to our players, you know, over time your skills will diminish, but being a great teammate lasts forever. And I think that's the message that we want to send to young people when they're deciding on where they want to go to school. Obviously, a place like Denver has a challenge in that, you know, we're 1,800 miles away from the East Coast, and so we've kind of met that challenge by recruiting, you know, maybe the best kid from Tennessee versus the 10th best kid from Baltimore or something like that. So all I would say to the parents, and I think this is really hard for them right now, is try to understand that the lessons you're teaching your son or daughter through this process are life lessons. And what I mean by that is that if you're you know, nudging your son to commit in his junior year so he can save a spot and then keep the irons in the fire for other places, and, you know, kind of holding a place and then hoping that somebody better comes along, teaching your son the wrong things. And that has been a real challenge as of late. In fact, it's even been highlighted as of late that it's kind of the in thing or the cool thing to get a commitment and then to bolt from that place to get something better. And I think in the long run, and we won't know this for another 10, 15 years, what is that lesson taught? You know, I always tell recruits and their families, when I was their age, my dad was a beer truck driver, and you know, I didn't think my dad knew anything. You know, what does a beer truck driver and a volunteer fireman know? And as I got my children and went through this process a lot now with young people, what I learned is that he knew everything. He just said it very simply. You know, he'd say, there's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. But one of the things that stuck with me has been, he always said that a handshake is one of the most important things in the world. And I think young people need to understand that through this process. This recruiting process in lacrosse is an amazing thing. There are no bad places to go. There are no bad coaches to go play for. And so when you do this thing, do it well, you know, do it knowing that, you know, there's so many good options. Do it knowing that being a great teammate is more important than being a great player, and try your best as a parent to help guide your son or daughter, but try your best to know who they are and and do it with trust so that you can trust the coach and the coach can trust you as we go through this process. And I think if you do that, you find that once you become that player, certainly playing at our level, at any college level, is difficult for these young people. And they got to learn that all of a sudden going from superstar to bench warmer is a challenge. But when you're up to that challenge and you've made the decision to go to a place and trust in a coach, your future, then let the course run its way. But do it by doing everything 24/7 when no one else is watching.
Thanks, Coach T. As we said at the start, fundamentals, appreciate it, greatly respected, humbled by rehearing it, quality of repetitions, uniqueness of repetitions, character-based, being a good teammate. Can have the best guys on the field, but maybe not the right guys on the field. Certainly during critical situations. So thanks, Coach T. Greg, you want to expand on that a little bit? Probably be pretty hard to follow that one up, but advice on growth and development.
Yeah, sure. I've got a good balance. I worked for Coach T for 4 years, so he'd break down a huddle, and then I'd follow after him, and I would never have anything to say. So I've been in this position before. I'm just gonna say, yeah, do what he just said, and we're gonna be okay. So, I think from that broader perspective of teammate and character and these great principles that I think you'll find as you mentioned, MV, foundation is built on. I think when we look at or become close with a young man who's interested in playing at the Division I level, it is very apparent that they've from somewhere, some source, been told what to say or how to communicate in a way that a coach wants to hear, or because there's all this information that gets broadcasted back to these young men where, when you go on recruiting trips, this is how you're supposed to behave, and this is what you're supposed to say, and this is what coaches want to see. But, and I think a lot of that is true, and it helps these young men. But what they really don't know, and they won't till they get to us, is how to be a scholar Division I athlete, and what goes into that, and what a coaching staff's actually going to ask of you. And I think you're rarely going to find, when you get to a program, or you get to what any level, as Coach T said, a coach that says, hey, go out and make as many big plays as you possibly can, and do things that impact a social media page, or do things that Inside Lacrosse is going to comment on. You're not going to find a coach like that. What we want to teach first and foremost is how are you prepared to develop a relationship with your teammate? Very honestly. So Coach T talked about being a great teammate, and very candidly, being a head coach for 7 years, it's the most difficult thing to teach, and it's what we spend the most time on. And I think the elements of leadership certainly closely follow right after that. And so how do we teach a young man to care about somebody else? And in that, develop all of these fundamental principles that make our systems go. Because if he's going to pay attention to a detail, it's not just going to be because Coach Raymond has told him to. It's going to be because his peers and the hierarchy of our family at Hobart believe in them, and they make us go. So how can I compete at a level, or learn to compete at a level that makes us better on a day-to-day basis, and not compete at a level to earn playing time? How can I learn that discipline as a teammate? So one of my favorite Nick Saban quotes, he's got 500 million, almost as much as Coach T in my book, but is anything you do affects the team. So how can I be a selfless competitor, or learn how to be a selfless competitor at a Division I level where the competition is fierce to play in a game day? How can I ignore the prestige of scoring a goal, against Syracuse in the Dome, and focus on the fundamentals that make me pick up a ground ball better, because that's going to improve our team. So I think back to that original point, what we want these young men to understand is the complicated aspect of being a teammate, and then how much easier everything is around that when you get to this level, because the speed at which we operate is it's dramatically faster than what they're doing at the high school level. Everything is. What they do on a day-to-day basis, what they're eating, how they're lifting, how their strength and conditioning, what they're doing in the classroom, the pace of all the curriculum they're being provided is faster. So first and foremost, and it sounds simple, but it ain't, how willing are you to look left and look right and care more about those guys than yourself? Because in that moment, you're going to figure out how to create a better product individually without even focusing on it. So to the man, our best player, to the ones who struggle the most to execute on a daily basis, when we've gotten them to focus on other people, their product has improved. It's that simple. So do I compete for myself because I love to compete and all that stuff, because there is value in that? Or am I learning a selfless discipline to play as hard as possible for my teammates? And teaching that is the most complicated and hardest thing I've had to do, because the toughness in that, and we define toughness as consistency at Hobart. So the consistency in that teammate ability, that's a discipline that takes a while to learn.
Great. Thanks, Coach Raymond. Coach Baxter?
Yeah, for sure.
Yours.
Yeah, tough to follow. Great words of wisdom there. And I think the couple things, just listening to Coach T and Coach Raymond speak, that hit home with me, and words of advice that I would give to high school kids out there that are looking to play Division I, Division III, or at the next level, would be one is that relationship piece that both coaches talked about. I think that's the thing that's the foundation where I started with my new program here at Fairfield, and just getting to know the guys in the team. And I think as a high school kid, I think it probably starts with your high school coach, your club coach, and then both your high school teammates and your club teammates, like Coach Raymond was just speaking about, and trying to develop those relationships and get to know your coaches and get to know your teammates. And I think, the little that I've been doing this as a head coach, the trust piece is been the biggest thing that I've had to kind of instill in these guys and talk to them about, and have them understand what that looks like, and how important that it is. So I think, one, building the relationships and establishing a level of trust with the people that are important in your lives is huge. And then I think the other piece of advice that I would give is, and this is a cliche, mental conditioning piece, but it's controlling what you can control, right? So it's what can you control right now? Obviously, if you're at home, you can control, setting up a daily routine for yourself, in terms of when you're going to work out, when you're doing your schoolwork, when you're going to go, shoot, when you're going to spend, when you're going to invest in those relationships. Are you going to when are you going to text your club coach? When are you going to text some teammates? When are you going to hop on a Zoom call with some family members, whatever it might be. But I think controlling what you can control, from everything from energy and effort. Those are the two big ones that a lot of people talk about, that you can always bring to whatever you're doing. But I think it's everything from your attitude on a daily basis. Do you have a there he is mentality versus a here I am mentality? And I think being able to control that and really focusing on that and practicing that is huge. Because like Coach Raymond was just saying, I think that's where you see the most growth, is when players do invest in that stuff, in the stuff that they can't control, and they really look outside themselves and have that selfless commitment piece that we've all been talking about. So I think those are two of the biggest things that I would give advice to these young kids about. And I think, obviously I'm in a phase where I'm still working on that as well. So I hope that helps.
It absolutely does. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I hesitate to chime in because the perspectives and advice given by you guys are so strong and so accurate, reaffirming in a lot of ways, unique and adverse times, obviously, for kids and families at home. The support element is key, I think. I think systems built on really good fundamentals are systems that are going to come through these trying times the best. I think people, and it came up in all of your comments, coaches, that there is no physical piece without the emotional piece. And my best strength and conditioning coach ever, Neati Akwola, would preach it all the time. Guys, there is no physical without the mental. If the mental breaks down, there is no physical. And so the fact that the character piece was stressed here so much by you guys is really meaningful to me, really reassuring. The old school definitions of what, character is and how it manifests itself in being a good teammate, things to focus on during this time of quarantine in some cases. We're all being overly cautious, an abundance of caution. We're all being leaders and we're being vigilant. And kids need to know that validation is not found in social media. Families need to know that there are lessons here that are going to be taught and learned and remembered. One of my coaching mentors told me at a very young age that you'll tell a young man 1,000 things, and the one thing that was wrong you told him, he's probably going to remember that. So just be careful. But the trust piece, the personal relationship piece is developing. It's really interesting to hear you guys share that. I mean, it's something I think at the high school level we share a lot with our guys because we know how important it is. So to be reinforced by you guys is very important. And I'll echo all of your sentiments, and especially Coach T's, that it is reaffirming to get on something like this and share perspectives and realize that there are very solid, like-minded people out there that have created a lot of victory in their lives and on the field selflessly, and that their perspectives are shared and pretty consistent. So gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And we will do some version of this moving forward. And again, we're all super vigilant and compassionate in these times. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Allard family and all the other families that are affected by this present situation. Please show an abundance of caution and courage in your moments of growth and development. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and we will speak soon.
Thanks, MV.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you guys.
Thanks.
Stay healthy.
See you guys.
Love your families.
Same, Coach.